we're Group A. We're going to be discussing the evaluation, covering criteria for our theatre and education project. We're going to be looking at criteria 2.1 and 2.3, and that will be looking at source material for the research and process of the project, and then looking at evaluation and how we felt that our first job went. So we're going to kick things off with looking at how we got started.
Well, we were given the brief from Yvonne, and we're told to look at different types of interviews and start staging them and start making them into some little scenes. And then we started off with just using our own experience of what we knew to get something up on the feet, and began to create improvisation scenes with an interviewer and an interviewee.
Yes. She only gave us two sort of titles to begin with, didn't she? So it was a college interview and a job interview. So we just sort of drew upon our own experiences.
Yeah. And we decided to use the system that she told us about, where you ask someone else about our audiences about what they thought could have changed on it, like the system where they stop them and then you go in and change something, right? But obviously, because they were school children, we couldn't do that, so we decided to ask them instead what we could change about it, and then we did a good version and a bad version.
Yeah, that was a forum theatre, wasn't it? We decided
to
look at doing that after we kind of not set some scenes in stone, but created some that we said, yes, those are definitely ones that we're going to use. And then Yvonne came to watch them.
Yeah, I think we initially thought, as they were teenagers with view to leave school, that we kind of want to treat them like adults and kind of get them involved as if we were doing a sort of they'd paid for a workshop. So as professional actors, taking a workshop to their school and using, or giving them the opportunity to use forum theatre to feed back to us, sort of, as we said, we'd have them sort of saying stop, changing the course of events and change the scenes. However, Yvonne, who is obviously the college/school liaison, thought that the group was maybe a little bit shy and a little bit more withdrawn, so it maybe wouldn't have worked. So we reworked the scenes again, didn't we? So first lot of scenes that we put together, she came and seen them, didn't she? And we looked at sort of tweaking and refining them, because she sort of said, can we look at bringing out, not being, how can I put it, patronising towards a teenage person. So with our scenes, they kind of evolved by us not only being, most of us have only had the experience of being interviewed, but we gave ourselves chance to take on the role of an interviewer. And how did you say you felt when you was interviewing me? Was it as
I think just to go back over, the reason for going, we're going to be mature about this, we're going to have them come in and help us refine the situation, was because maybe we feel better that if we give them the maturity to talk to us, that it builds a kind of relationship where if we were to go back in again, they'd give us more. So it's gradually building it up, so you become more and more mature with what you take into the school.
How did you feel kind of, you know, like when you interviewed me, did you think that, because I mean I was quite hard interviewee, so it put the shoe on the other foot really of how difficult it can feel as an interviewer, and how difficult a candidate can be sometimes.
As an interviewer, it's hard not to give anything away, because you don't really want to sit there and go, it looks like, do you know what I mean, like you've got the job. That was the hardest part, to sit there and be neutral, just because you don't want to go into the school not being neutral and to give them a judgment of what they're going to face at a retail or interview, at a college interview. So to sit there and not react when you, like for instance for Eve coming at me, was hard to just go instead of going, hold on a minute, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, from a professional and neutral point of view.
You're still nervous. I think you have the same I'm going to say feelings from when you're the interviewee, the interviewer,
bit nervous kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not sure what you're doing. Not.
I think like what was good was especially when we did the panel interview, we found that straight away, because we said, okay, we're going to make this one a little bit stricter, everybody took that to the extreme, and suddenly it became a really, really hard interview.
Yeah.
And we all stopped it halfway through and said, oh, this isn't right at all. This is a bit too in depth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think what was good was, because we took experiences from your two's experiences in that interview, we just changed it so that we didn't say exactly what they said. So we didn't do, we weren't like a carbon copy of somebody else, because we knew what someone had done. We didn't want to replicate that, because it's like Jay said, Yvonne had said, as the interviewer, you are, in other words, representing here.
You was actually going to be a college interviewer, wasn't you? So you was representing the college. You're really hard as nails at them. They kind of panicked, I don't want to go to Birmingham Metropolitan. They're horrible.
When we were doing the interviews as well, when we were being forceful and nasty, we were getting a job a bad name as well. So like they said, we needed to show them that it's not horrible going to an interview. It's something that they should look forward to doing and that they should do.
Yeah, I think in the process, we knew when we were going too far. We knew we didn't have anybody coming to us and going, you can't do it. Us ourselves, I think probably going back a few years when we were those kids at school, you kind of go, I wouldn't want to hear that, because it would put me off going to that place, going for that job. So we knew when to bring it back, and then you go, okay, so we're going to bring it back to here. But then it worked out for us even better, because we took a situation, but we kind of made it better by bringing it back, by not being harsh, but still adding the pointers in that this could happen in an interview, but not being harsh about it, being subtle.
I think what a lot of us we didn't realise was, we were doing the scenes and we thought, that's perfect, that's what to say. But then actually, when everyone watched them, she was like, you can't say this, like when you said about leaving school and it's okay, I'll go in the doll. She was like, no, you can't say that really. We didn't realise the EMA had stopped. So we mentioned that, and then when Yvonne said the EMA has actually stopped, we then had to go, oh okay, then should we change the question? Which we probably, I would say we should have done more, because we were asking questions about the funding and the apprenticeship and the pay. We should have done more research into that pay. So
that was a very starting point, wasn't it?
Our interviewer could answer the questions properly, whereas like when I was answering the apprenticeship questions, I was only kind of going off what I knew, when I should have really actually looked into it. So when I did answer your question, I was giving you a genuine answer. It wasn't just, I think this is what is right.
It's like with me, like when I was doing the mechanic thing, when I was the good student, I should have researched into it a bit more, because obviously I was just giving what I knew off the top of my head.
Touches nicely on when I interviewed Eve, as a company, I think even though I didn't go on a computer and research, I still went and talked to my manager about it. Manager,
so
I was going to be the manager of that company, so I was like, I'll talk about half an hour of his break, and I was like, just give me details, like, give me, I don't know, a bad interview and a good interview, and one in the middle, and give me why it was good, what questions he would, and I asked him what questions he would ask, how he would want people to respond, which hopefully I got across to you. So
yes,
like, I have to be neutral in situations. Like, I don't want to give away that they've got the job or they haven't got the job. That's not what it's for. That's what the phone call's for. Years after.
Even though I was really obnoxious and kind of so over the top, you didn't give anything away, and I think that's possibly the job of an interviewer as well, to remain completely neutral. You're not being sort of prejudiced in no way. You're just, allowing whatever is in front of you and going with a set format of questions, pretty much from a professional point of view. I think what was interesting about like what we all done in particular, because we knew that sort of our target audience was going to be age 15, so they'd had no experience of interviews. We wanted to put such a variety in there as well, in terms of issues that they'd never experienced in an interview before. Panel interview. Some of us had never even had one, then maybe, even in our kind of working life, which is really difficult to kind of come into. even a college interview, I think sometimes they think maybe I just go in, I sign a form and I can start the course. Well, no, you've got to show some interest in it. We looked at as well, we did actually start finding out more information about, like, well, actually, now she's looked at our performance and sort of decided to tweak it. She said, well, actually, can you take that into more of an apprenticeship interview? And we was like, I mean, I've never applied for an apprenticeship, but we didn't know how difficult it was to get onto an apprenticeship. So that we had to then look at, well, if we were a college lecturer, how do we then interview? So we got her to give us some answers to that, didn't we?
We needed to figure out whether it was going to be the people that were doing the job that was interviewing them or the college person.
I think as well.
More research.
With the fact that we've done a negative interview and a positive interview, it gives them time to reflect on how they would look, so they can see, oh, well, that's my personality.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to look at an interview, so I need to change that, or that's exactly how I am. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, keep doing my research, and it just lets them know how, like, what's acceptable in industry and within college and apprenticeships as well.
I think when we, you know, when, like, for instance, like when you first did your over the top one, it was funny and like it was hilarious, but then we all said what we didn't want to do was make it funny, so it was a laughing stock. We still wanted to show, look, this is an interview, so we had to say, like, you know, bring it back, but, you know, still keep the excitement and everything there, but rather than it be funny,
it was more exhausting.
And it was like when we talked about what the applications, when Yvonne then said to us, you know, can you show a scene where you're sorting through applications and, you know, there's certain things that are wrong. When we first started to do it, we were all stuck for, well, you know,
because we're not office workers. We was like, right, okay, well, what do office workers do?
You've only ever handed a CV, you've never seen the process of what goes on.
We did ask Yvonne, and we did say to Yvonne, you know, well, what are some of the CVs that you've seen then? And then about the email address. It was kind of, I think what we had to do was, what we found funny, as in we could laugh about it, funny, be mature about it, we then had to think again, okay, these are 15-year-olds, you know, they might laugh at something.
They might not even think, well, there's nothing wrong with that email.
And it's like they might
just don't see it. Sort of thing.
That maturity of, like, the email address, like, you know, when everyone was like, you know, don't say 69 because they'll find it hilarious. Whereas to us, yes, it's funny, but it's also pointing out
because it's so ridiculous.
But like they might not have seen that, so we had to kind of say, okay, we can use it to a certain extent.
So you take it out of context, in it,
and
how you then change it and put it into a different context. So it has a completely different meaning, which I think all throughout is what we were doing. Like with Eve, we took the funniness out and put the exhausting side in. So everything, I think all the context of everything kind of.
But it hit the main aim, didn't it? It hit the main aim was to take issues that will be now affecting potentially these school leavers going into a job interview, but not telling them which is right or wrong, giving them the chance to think about it, and then open it for discussion was the main aim. Was the main aim to sort of like say, this is a really bad interview, never ever do this, because you don't want to encroach on somebody's personality, but we're just throwing it out, there to say, what did you think?
I thought it was really good how Yvonne also said to score us out of 10 on each thing that we did, because then it'd show them and it'd show us what they actually thought, whether they thought it wasn't that much different, but in the end it was quite a lot different, so they understood that one was really bad and you shouldn't do it, and the ones that were only the tiniest bit bad, they didn't quite notice the chewing gum, but they noticed that they scored it 1 under, because they noticed that it was the tiniest bit different, which is good, because also they're seeing that there's something that's different going on.
I think they were quite a sharp group as well, in terms of, like, I was really pleased with the group in terms of we didn't know what to expect. We'd only planned for like 15 people, but actually I think we've done well as a whole, as a group. When we'd kind of explored all the sort of the scenes, we started to give ourselves quite a lot of diverse examples of an interview without being stereotypical, or without being, you know, fitting in a box.
All the way through, we were thinking who our audience were. We were thinking of their age, and I think going in there and the way we approached it with the immaturity and everything was bang on, because they kind of, okay, it takes everybody to come out of the shell, but because you're going, okay, what do you think? I want you to tell me how to change this. They're going, oh, she's giving me some responsibility here, so I'm just going to give her a little bit back, which I think worked really well, but I think it only worked well with that amount of people.
Yeah.
I think having a bigger group,
They
you
would
have to
lost
go,
interest,
yeah,
I mean,
straight away.
You know, we found out, you know, the plan was that we were going to do the interviews and Yvonne was going to interview us, which was putting us on the spot.
Yeah.
But then, you know, kind of, it was, okay, we're going to split them into groups and get them to talk.
Yeah.
And then they're going to write things down. And when we actually got there and they said, oh, you've only got an hour and 20 minutes with them,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, okay, we found out there and then we're going to have to scrap that because we haven't got time to do that.
Yeah.
So how can we incorporate that in what we're doing?
Yeah.
Which I think worked, because the feedback after each one, you know, was as we planned. Yes, okay, they're going to talk after each one.
Yeah.
But then there was also the scoring system, and then they was picking up on more things, and then it was like about the application form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Yvonne was going to say when they were into groups, then Yvonne was going to say, so what do you think you could put down on your CV? But instead, she did it there and then, straight
Yeah.
after that scene.
Which is
Yeah.
still fresh in their mind, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it goes away and it lets them think about what they saw.
Yeah.
Or should, like, at the end of the day, they might be, I don't know, at the weekend they're filling something out and they're looking at the application form and they're going, oh, but I remember this from that group coming in and going, oh, Mum, can you just double check this for me?
Yeah.
So they're precise in everything they do, just because we've showed her a 1 minute scene of how important it is to fill that application form out.
Yeah.
Right.
I think when we actually got there and you know, we saw the space that we were in, okay, and then we were given table and chairs and then the kids came in. I think it was quite hard at the beginning to start with that energy, because
Yeah, it was so flat, wasn't it?
they, you know, the kids were like, they've been took out of the lesson, didn't quite understand what
was going on.
But then I think, you know, we started and we didn't particularly start with something that was,
High,
you know,
high energy type of,
But then I think, then after that, when we asked them for feedback and we kind of got nothing, for me, I don't know about anybody else, but then I was a little bit like, oh,
Yeah.
I felt quite deflated.
I know what you mean, because
Because-
what happened really was that it felt to me, as probably like you as well, that on the first section, after Yvonne said, right, do you want to do it again? And they were just like, no, just go on with it. I feel that they were getting bored to start with, but then after we showed them the proper improv and everything, they actually enjoyed it more, and they were willing to listen more once we actually did some stuff that they were interested
I
in.
think from what we talked about in previous rehearsals was what I'd have changed possibly at the start is maybe have the start a bit more energetic, a bit more like not moving around a lot, but a bit more like the pace is quickened, so that they want to watch, and maybe have the music at the start just because it's something that's going to draw their attention.
Yeah.
I think we just sat there and went,
Da, da,
and
da,
we
da.
went into it.
Yeah.
We were just
they're like,
speaking